So learning a new language, it can feel totally overwhelming, right? Like you're trying to climb this huge mountain. But what if I told you the secret to getting fluent isn't hidden away in some dusty old grammar book? What if it's actually found in two super simple classroom activities? Let's dive in and see how. Yeah, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you go from just knowing a list of words, like brother, sister, family, to actually having a real, meaningful conversation? How do you cross that bridge? Well, you might be surprised to hear that the answer starts way smaller than you'd think.
All right, so our journey starts with that very first conversation. And look, the goal here is not to be fluent by the end of the day. No way. It's just about, getting the ball rolling, breaking the ice with a really simple, structured chat. So the first activity is a classic for a reason, role-playing. It's simple. You get students into pairs and they have just one job, ask each other about their family. And the really important thing here is this is not about memorizing lines from a script. It's about having a live back-and-forth exchange.
And just look at how simple this is. The first question and answer is just about facts. Do you have siblings? Yes, 2 brothers. That's it. It's such a low-pressure way for students to actually use their new vocabulary in a real sentence. It builds that little bit of confidence right from the get-go. And this is where it gets really cool, because this just shows you the next natural step. The activity practically begs for a follow-up question. What are their names? And suddenly, we've gone from a simple yes-no to sharing specific info. That one little prompt just kicked off a whole mini conversation. It's brilliant.
So you see, the really crucial thing to get here is that this isn't just boring repetition. This is active practice. Students are having to think on their feet, they're listening, they're responding, all in a context that feels a lot like a real conversation. And building that foundation, it's absolutely everything.
Okay, so that first activity is great for getting the basic facts down. We've got our baseline. But real conversations, they're about more than just facts, aren't they? They're about stories, personality, connection, and that's exactly where our second activity comes in. Okay, activity number 2, the family tree project. Now, students are asked to go way beyond just those simple questions. They're actually creating a visual map of their own family. And right away, this adds this whole new layer of creativity and, more importantly, personal investment. The whole project is broken down into these really clear steps. First, you draw the tree itself, making that visual map of your family. Then, you start adding in all the family members, maybe going back a few generations. But then comes the most important part. You use your new English skills to write a little description for each person. You're moving past just names and numbers. And this is where the magic really happens. You see the shift? We're not just saying he has 2 brothers anymore. Now we're sharing personality, we're sharing feelings, maybe even a little memory. He is very kind and loves to tell stories. The language has suddenly become this amazing tool for real personal expression. So, let's step back for a second. We've got these 2 activities, and yeah, on their own, they're pretty useful exercises. But when you put them side by side, you start to see that they're not just 2 random things to do, they're actually 2 steps in a really smart, really powerful learning journey. And the progression is just so clear when you look at it this way. That first role-playing activity, that's all about mastering the mechanics of a conversation. The Q&A, the basic facts. Then, the family tree project comes along and takes all those skills and uses them for something way deeper. Telling stories and making personal connections. It's the perfect journey from data to story. All right, so now for the big reveal. Why does this actually work? I mean, why are these simple, almost playful-sounding activities so darn effective at teaching language? Well, it all comes down to a few core principles about how our brains are just hardwired to learn. It really all boils down to these 3 powerful ideas. First, you've got active participation. In both activities, students have to do something. They have to create language, not just sit there and listen. Second is personal connection. This is huge. It's their family, their grandfather. That makes the words matter. And finally, you have contextual learning. The word grandfather isn't just a random word on a vocabulary list anymore. Now it's linked to a real face, a real person, and a real story. So, if there's one crucial thing to take away from all this, it's this. Learning sticks when it's personal and when it's applied. It's not about memorizing lists of words. It's about taking those words and using them to talk about something that actually matters to you. That's when they stop being just symbols and start becoming real tools for connection. And that really leaves us with one final thought, a question for you.
This idea, it's not just about learning a language, right? I mean, think about anything complex you want to learn. Coding, cooking, maybe a piece of history. How can you take that big, complicated subject and anchor it in a simple, personal, and active task? Because finding the answer to that, well, that might just be the key to mastering, well, pretty much anything. Thanks for joining me.